I hate quoting him, but I feel like I have to right now. As Aaron Rodgers would say, relax. Because here's the thing. After the Eagles won 24-20 against the Cowboys in week 1, if you were to listen to sports radio, if you were to read Twitter, it is going to seem like they lost. 100% it is going to seem like they lost and they looked bad. Now, one of those things is partly true, but they won. And that's really all that matters, is that they won. They won 24-20, and it wasn't pretty, and it was ugly, and there's a lot of takeaways. First of all, Jalen Carter has to be smarter than that. Has to. Because after the video comes out of Jalen Carter spitting on Dak Prescott, you immediately go like, dude, how dumb are you? The referee is literally right there. You are way too important of a player for this defense to have that happen. And immediately you see the impact. You see Dallas, as soon as they find out that he is out, switch to a run-heavy attack, which opened up the pass, and CeeDee Lamb is catching everything. That is the Jalen Carter effect. Because now you need to play Jordan Davis, who is virtually useless. I'll say it. He sucks. You have to play him more instead of having Jalen Carter next to Moro Jama. And you saw the impact. Javonte Williams is out there looking like, I don't know, some Emmett guy. But then you get the video of what actually transpired, which was Dak Prescott, veteran move, baiting Jalen Carter. And a lot of Eagles fans will sit there and they'll be Leo, right? Pointing and go, oh, look at the tape. That's a veteran move. That is Dak Prescott knowing full well what he's doing. Knowing, I'm going to spit in his direction. I'm not going to spit on him. But he's such a hothead that he'll come over and he might do some dumb stuff. And guess what? It might end up getting him kicked out of the game. Oh my God, he just did it. I got him kicked out of the game. And I'll tell you, like I would hope to God that CeeDee Lamb would start spitting on some of the Eagles because the way he performed in the first half at least. But that is a veteran move by Dak. It is smart. And it will not be the first time now where opposing players try to goat Jalen Carter into doing something stupid to get kicked out of the game. But it had an effect, right? I mean, it clearly had an effect. The secondary did not look good. Adoree Jackson, I was told there was a very strong smell of burnt toast in the link, and it was all from Adoree Jackson. Which makes you wonder how bad is Keely Ringo if Adoree Jackson is a starter. Because, man, he looked bad. Conversely, this was the worst game I've probably ever seen Quinyon Mitchell play, and that makes you wonder, should they have kept Darius Slay? Because Quinyon Mitchell was so shut down, and Darius Slay might have had a big factor in that. Because with Adoree Jackson, he was letting me and you catch balls. Offense looks really strong early on. You're not worried about that. They look as advertised. But the defense is clearly struggling without Jalen Carter. But that game was so weird in so many ways because it is a tale of two halves for both sides of the football. The first half, the offense could not be stopped. They're scoring on every drive, every time they have the ball. The defense, meanwhile, couldn't stop you and me. And then they come out for the second half, and it is completely switched, where the offense is struggling. The offense can't really get anything going. The defense, meanwhile, is playing lights-out football, causing turnovers, and looking like they should be picking off every ball. But also then you've got the A.J. Brown factor. Now, we all know that by the time I post this video, the post-game comments would have already happened, and the number one question would be about Jalen Carter, and the number two question will be, what the hell was your game plan with A.J. Brown? How does A.J. Brown go an entire game, essentially, with never getting targeted until 2 minutes left in the game? That is absurd. And it reminded me a lot of 2017, them not getting LeGarrette Blount the ball at all against the Chiefs. Just like the Jalen Carter thing, it reminded me a lot of the Jeremiah Trotter situation in 2005. They go down to Atlanta to start the season. They just went to the Super Bowl. Like Reese knew that the Eagles broke down to the 50-yard line. He told the Falcons players at the time, like, yeah, we're going to stop that. And Jeremiah Trotter gets kicked out of the game. The Eagles are forced to start Michael Abinjo, and he was last seen in the CFL. It was a disaster. The Eagles lost that game. They won this game. So that goes to my Patty positivity point of view on this. How many more games this season are we going to have A.J. Brown not get targeted, A.J. Brown not score, obviously, Saquon Barkley held under 100 yards, and Jalen Carter not be available? How many games this year does all of that happen? How many more? Maybe one of those happen, right? And it's probably most likely the Jalen Carter situation, and you would figure that would either be because of suspension, which he shouldn't be suspended, or injury. Probably pretty few, you know? So to me, this game reminded me a lot of the Packers game, the Packers playoff game. And the reason I say that is because after the Packers playoff game, a lot of people were saying, if the Eagles look like that next week, they're going to be in trouble. And I'm just sitting there going, yeah, but let's break this down. What are the odds that the Eagles go another week without Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, or Saquon Barkley getting in the end zone? Slim and none. And the next week, they played the Rams, and they ended up winning. For a while there, that game looked like it was in hand, and then the Rams kind of came back. But eventually, the Eagles closed it out. So when you factor in the weirdness of this game, when you factor in what was missing for the Eagles in the sense of like an A.J. Brown game plan, Jalen Carter completely, Landon Dickerson was out for a little bit, but he's always banged up, it seems like. When you factor all that in, I think you can take a lot of good from this game because I don't see that happening again. I don't see what we just watched happening again. It was a weird game. All right? But I would be shocked if A.J. Brown is not force-fed the ball next week. Their offense looked great, and I was right there with you in the first half going like, okay, they're scoring, but like, what's up with A.J. Brown? Like, this is weird. But you know what? At the end of the day, they won. And I'm saying this as a guy who lost money in the game because I bet it, right? That's probably a lot of you did. And, they didn't cover. But all that matters is they won. And I think when you factor in how a season goes in the NFL, I think when you look back and you're in the playoffs and, you win a Super Bowl and you look back at all those games where they were like this, where they were close, and maybe they shouldn't have been close, and maybe you thought they were going to hammer the team and they didn't, and it was closer than you think. This is the difference, and this is the separation between good teams and bad teams. Good teams do what the Eagles did. Good teams close the game out. Did they luck into some of it because CeeDee Lamb could have caught the ball? Absolutely they did. But on the flip side, the Eagles should have picked off a couple of those balls. The Eagles' defense came up clutch when they needed to. When the offense wasn't there, which was, second half, the Eagles' defense was there to pick them up. That is the sign of a good team. My worry for this is the fact that, and this was my worry going into the season, I did a whole video on this. My worry is that Nick Sirianni had his imprints, his fingerprints a little bit on the offensive game plan, and maybe that's why we didn't see A.J. Brown. And I just say that because every time Nick Sirianni touches the offense gets neutered, and the offense doesn't look great. To be fair, though, the offense looked fine in that first half. And that is just pure tinfoil hat pat, just guessing. But sometimes this shit happens. And look, it is inexcusable, and it's on A.J. Brown to go up to Jalen Hurts. It's on Jalen Hurts to recognize he needs to get the ball to A.J. Brown. It's on Kevin Patula. It's on Nick Sirianni. It's on a lot of them. But at the end of the day, does it really matter? If it continues, yes. But do you think it's going to continue? Do you realistically think that A.J. Brown is going to have a similar game for the rest of the season? You don't. Neither do I. They won. It wasn't pretty. It was ugly, but they won. And as, the old adage goes, divisional games are always close, yada, yada, yada. There was some good to take out of this game. And it's not just the anomalies that you probably won't see. I thought Jahad Campbell looked good. I was not happy with I thought the refereeing is actually pretty good, other than the taunting call. If they're going to start calling that, that's horseshit. That's horseshit. These are grown men. These are professional athletes, and we're calling 15-yard taunting calls because a guy flexed over somebody. Get real. But no, look, I think that there was some good. I think the Adoree Jackson thing is an issue. But we also all know that if it continues to be an issue and the cornerback spot is an issue, that Howie Roseman will go out and address it. He'll trade for a cornerback. He'll trade for a former All-Pro, former Pro Bowler, for whatever. He'll get a guy in here that can do the job if Adoree Jackson can't. So I don't foresee what we saw tonight, which was one of the weirdest games I've ever seen. In terms of like CeeDee Lamb catching everything. All of a sudden, CeeDee Lamb can't catch anything. The Jalen Carter thing, the A.J. Brown thing, the lightning delay, all of it. It was just fucking weird. But they won. Don't let that fall by the wayside. Don't forget that. Was it annoying? Was it pleasant? Was I sitting there at times going, this kind of sucks? Yes. But it's a lot better than a loss, folks. Now's the part where I ask you guys to hit the subscribe button. because I'm desperate. I need subscribers. I need 1,000. So please subscribe. You can like, you can dislike, you can comment, whatever, but subscribe is the most important thing. I will leave. And as always,